Good morning, this is Jack from Charlotte in the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Wednesday, the 10th of June. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts, and I'm not here to shoot trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers. It's chartingthemarkets.subset.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, great. Let's have a look at ES. Now, we've obviously got a series of head and shoulder patterns which are broken down here. I was doubtful about those yesterday. I'm still doubtful about them, but I've marked them all in because obviously they're there. So on here on ES, we've got a head and shoulders which is broken down with a target in the 70-75 area. I'm very, very skeptical about it making that target, and I will explain why. But I'll do that mainly on the bigger picture charts. On NQ, we've got a head and shoulders which is broken down with a target in the 26.75 area. On RTY, no current pattern here. Could be a bull flag. Not a particularly good one so far. On YM, we've got a head and shoulders which is broken down with the target in the 49.300 area. Now, the thing is about head and shoulders, of course, is that when they broke down, you've got an inflection point and you can either head down to the target or you're likely to go back and retest the highs. It's generally speaking going to be one or the other. And I'll be explaining today why I think chances are these are going to fail back into the highs. And there's a number of reasons for that, and they are fairly compelling. Can they head off to those targets? Yes. If the news today is pretty awful, then I'm thinking it can, but otherwise I'm thinking it's going to be a real struggle. And I think you'll agree that once I've shown you why that is. All right, DAX, wondering if this might be some kind of a bull flag. ESTX, this bull flag actually retested the high yesterday. We've got a potential level top here. On Nikkei, we've got a larger, haven't actually quite made the initial head and shoulder target, the 62,710 area, but we've now got a larger head and shoulders, which has broken down with the target in the 58,000 area. I think all these are going to fail, and I'll show you why. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, first off, Exhibit A is the SPX chart. Look where the low was yesterday, and it was at the 3SD lower band. Now, it tends to be a rarity to see a hard break below this. And generally speaking, you need some pretty bad news. And this is something I've talked about before, but when you are reversing and when you are looking at big moves down, generally speaking, you need to warm up for a while. You need to spend some time below the daily middle band. You need to let the market roll over unless the news is absolutely awful. And at the moment, we reached the 3SD lower band. We've seen the bounce that you would expect to see there. And where is that daily 3SD lower band going to be today? Well, it's going to be in approximately the same place. So I'm thinking we may well retest that low today. But I'm thinking that chances are it's going to hold. If we do retest that low, well, we've already got a bit of positive divergence here. We can get a better looking but weakish daily RSI 5 buy signal here, and we've got another one brewing on the Qs chart. Not just that, we've also got a possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing here on the SPX hourly chart, and we've also got one of those brewing on the QQQ hourly chart. And it's basically SPX and, well, QQQ and to a lesser extent SPX are driving the bus here. I didn't like the head and shoulder patterns, and I think that is the positive divergence we've got forming here and the 3SD lower bands, because the thing is on Qs, 3SD lower band wasn't here yesterday, but it would be here on the way to that head and shoulder target. And again, that tends to be pretty good support. Unless the news is awful or there's a major collapse in confidence about AI or something that cannot be predicted, we would not normally head down and do that. There is another problem as well. I've been talking about the historical leans and how we've had this very impressive run of making the historical lean every day. The historical lean for this week, we did it every day last week because we've got an unusual thing where every day's got a significant historical lean last week and this week. But this week, of course, we were going to be bullish Monday, did that. We were going to be bearish Tuesday, we did that, and bearish today. But then we've got a bullish leaning day on Thursday, a bullish leaning day on Friday, and a bullish leaning day on Monday. And then neutral tape in a holiday week all of next week. Now, unless we're going to see a major AI meltdown or a big resumption of war in a way which looks particularly concerning, like big attacks on Saudi oil energy infrastructure or unless we see a full resumption of the war and back the way it was and more. I'm just not seeing that happening here. So I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to make a low today, and then I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to go back and retest that size, because that's where the targets for these head and shoulder patterns are. And the head and shoulder patterns were never as good here. I marked it in here on the SPX chart. But once we get back over for 74.83, especially if we retest that low today, nice looking double bottom we'd have then, and then we'd have a target back up at a retest the high. Now we've already seen on the oil chart, when you've got a nice looking pattern, however nice, once that head and shoulder fails, you're probably going to see a low retest. And once the IHS in that case. But here, of course, if the head and shoulder fails, chances are we're going to see a high retest. So I'm leaning towards seeing that high retest. And I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but nonetheless, that's where the numbers lead us. So unless we see something really impressive today that delivers that downside, that's what I'm expecting to see. Looking at Dow, we made it back down to the daily middle band, and we made it down and broke down below this rising wedge support. I'm thinking this would be a very good area to bounce. We've still got a weak RSI 5 sell signal fix, and obviously we've got RSI 14 sell signals fixed across the board. I'm thinking those RSI 14 sell signals are probably going to make targets, but I think another retest of the high may well be on the way. We shall see. No divergence on the hourly chart there, but obviously we've had a nice breakdown from this rising wedge from the late March low. All right, but I think that's topping out, but that doesn't mean it's actually topped yet. IWM. We've still got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, of course. We actually closed back above the daily middle band yesterday, so that didn't hold as resistance yesterday. Basically, that was kind of a close on the band. We only closed very marginally above it, but nonetheless, we did close back above it. Sorry, that would be on IWM, yep. On the hourly chart, no divergence, haven't fallen enough. And here, this certainly isn't looking like a double bottom, but I am wondering about it being a flag. So we shall see. It's not a particularly great flag, but looks more like a flag than does anything else. DAX, I'm also wondering. We've spent the last couple of days below the daily middle band, but I'm still wondering about a retest of the all-time high there too. Nikkei, we're testing the daily middle band. This is an obvious area to find support, but the 3SD lower band, that tends to be a very, very good level. We've got positive divergence as well, but that tends to be a pretty good level, and unless something really extraordinary is happening, that tends to be a pretty good area to be buying. And it was yesterday on SPX. And I'm thinking if we go and test it again today, chances are it's going to be a good area to buy again today. We shall see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at the DX chart. DX, I think this is a bullish consolidation. I'm leaning towards the upside here. Generally speaking, most things are supportive of the dollar going up. We've got, obviously we had buy signals here on EURUSD, and those have already made target. No current negative divergence, but USD JPY is heading up towards the retest of this high here, subject to Bank of Japan interventions. They spent $78 billion trying to keep this number downwards over the last few months, and they may well spend more. USD CAD, this is leaning a bit bearish just because I've got this rising megaphone here. But Australian dollar, obviously we've had a head and shoulders breakdown, and on NZ we've had a double top breakdown, and we will see how those go. But I'm thinking those may well be following through soon. All right, ZB, we've got a head and shoulder. We had a 60-minute buy signal on both ZB and ZN. Both of those are reached possible near miss target. We might go a bit higher, might make the full target, might even retest these highs. But at the moment we've got a double top which is broken down with a target, the 110.07 to 110.16 range, and that's not looking as though that's failing. On ZN, this looks like a bear flag forming. And we've got a head and shoulders which is broken down with the target in the 108.19 area, and that's still an open target. This looks like a flag. If that is a flag, then we're going to head back to these lows, and chances are we'll make that target, and we may well continue down from there. Looking at coil, we are seeing we've seen a bit of a rally up from the lows yesterday, but basically the inverted head and shoulders, they failed. I was saying chances are we're going to retest the lows, and then we retest the lows. This has set up some pretty nice looking double bottom patterns which might deliver. CL, we've got exactly the same. Heating oil didn't quite retest the low, and it might need to. We will see, but I would think I'm wondering about retests of these lows. I'm thinking we've got pretty good support here, and there's a good chance that will hold, and these are double bottoms which will hold. I am still expecting to see a big move up on oil over the next month or two. From where? I don't know, but it could be from here. We shall see. All right, looking at heating oil, obviously we haven't quite retested the low. RBOB, this was looking like a bear flag, and it's gone back. It's retested the low, and we've now got a nice looking, though smaller, double bottom here. NG, the buy signal has reached target pretty much. Waiting to see if this will break up. We're testing on the bigger picture the daily middle band. If this holds as resistance, then I'm expecting to see a retest of this low, a retest of this trend line here, and currently in the 3.03 area. If we break up, might see a retest of this high. That probably wouldn't be to make the second night of a double top. It would be too large. Looking at GC, we've now made it down to the retest of this low, which was what I was expecting to see. The 60-minute buy signal failed, and another one is now brewing. On the bigger picture, we had a daily RSI 5 buy signal that failed too. SI, I'm still wondering about a retest of this low here. We haven't quite made that. I've got that in about the 61.50 area. We got pretty close to it, but no cigar so far. I'm still thinking that probably needs a retest. Palladium, we've got, although of course we've also got a 60-minute buy signal fixed there, and if we didn't already have one would have fixed here too. Palladium, wondering about possible bottoming action here. Platinum, we've got, I don't think that's positive divergence. No, it isn't. So we haven't got any positive divergence here, but potential bottoming action. HG, we've now got a very nice looking overall nested double top. And I'm thinking as and when equities turn, I think we are looking for a high on equities here. Don't think we've necessarily found it yet, but I think we are looking for a high. And the moment where oil starts spiking because there are real shortages being felt is coming closer every day. When that is either, we will see. So looking at HG, I'm expecting this to turn with equities as and when we see that. Looking at KC, we got a little double bottom here. Might see a rally up into about the 259 area. But overall, bigger picture, not really looking at it, not really seeing anything to suggest that we're not going to see more downside. Looking at sugar, we've got retest this low here. I'm still wondering about a retest of this big low here, but this is setting up a potential little double bottom. Looking at CC, still wondering about a test of this head and shoulder target in the 35.19 area. On lumber, we have a move up here. We broke my triangle and retested the prior high on the bigger picture chart. This may be a bear flag forming. I'm quite liking a bear flag forming actually. But this could potentially go higher if it is a bear flag. We shall see. So cotton, still could be a bull flag forming here, but we're beyond that really on wheat, which is seeing a bit of a rally at the moment, and on corn, which is seeing a bit of a rally at the moment. Both of those had 60-minute buy signals, which will reach the possible near miss target. Looking at the wheat chart, we've got a little inverted head and shoulders here, which is breaking up with a target in about the 605 area. On corn, possible IHS forming. Soy, possible bottoming action, 60-minute buy signal fixed, and that's reaching the possible near miss target area too. ZL, possible head and shoulders forming here, which I'm watching with interest. Ideal right shoulder high would be in the 77 area. Lumber, live cattle, we had head and shoulders which broke down and failed, so I'm looking for a retest of this high here in the 251.50 area. On lean hogs, we have gone lower, continuing downtrend. 60-minute buy signal is now in serious danger of failing, and we might see that fail if that continues down today. All right, great. Let's have a quick look at questions, of which we have none. Well, everyone take care. Yeah, cheers, Doug. Keep getting better soon, mate. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. All right, cheers.